So, don't mind the little humming. That's one of my MacBooks getting warmed up. But this, in 2014, which was after I left the Art Institute in Fort Lauderdale, I moved to, well, I did some traveling, and then I moved to Sacramento. And this right here is an image that I created from this image that I found online. The one on the left I found, and the one on the right I made. And I made it with a couple of different images, including the one on the left. It was for a story that I made that took place in India. So that's why I needed that image and why I made that image. And I put that image into this image, which is my establishment shot. And so this building wasn't this way, and then I kind of modified it. And I included my elephant with carriage. And I also included, if you can see, I'm going to scroll down, this little carriage, this little vendor. And the vendor I found in Asia online, and I modified that. And then I found this old historic or antique dairy truck or dairy vehicle. And this is how they used to transport the dairy. So I put that in. And of course I made the shadows. And what else? And the shadow for the elephant. And I took this from a historic image, like an antique photograph. This carriage that I put on the elephant's back. So, I love Photoshop and learned a lot about it. I had 2 classes in Fort Lauderdale, and then I only had 1 class in Fort Lauderdale, and the teacher wasn't very good. But I did have that wonderful illustrator teacher, Diane Sammet, and I had excellent web development teacher, Leslie O'Rue. So I did a lot of my Photoshop learning by myself with videos online, and I did a lot of work with it. So when I went back to school in 2015, I did go to Sacramento Art Institute, where I did a lot of video terminology. I did the short story format, and I did the color theory in digital learning bridge. She was a very good teacher. But this was the original cart that I found online. So I wanted that vendor in my picture. And there they are. There's the vendor in my establishment shot. I kind of wanted to show the culture, some of the culture. And here's the picture of the carriage that I wanted on my elephant. So I took the carriage from there and I put it in my elephant for my image. I love these old historic antique pictures of India. It's such a rich culture. I really enjoy it. And then this is my simplified drawing. This was for the storyboard, which I did like 40 drawings for that story alone, which isn't a lot. This is one of them. I don't know if you remember from the website that I showed you. And here's the female. Just very quick, kind of give the idea of what's going on and the different shots. for the setup of an animation in the future, which I never did. And here's some photography. This is actually talking about color theory. This was one of my photographs for my class. And here we have a composite that I made using the IT crowd and the high contrast achromatic. So we did a lot of, well, I did a lot of this, indicating the different color combinations. And I used Palleton. And this is just a local news magazine, and I redid the cover with what I wanted to put in it. The big image is the one that I changed. And this wasn't considered appropriate because it was an advertisement. And it was supposed to be a news article. So I had to switch it. And here's just some drawings that I made in one of my drawing classes here in California. This was perspective drawings. This is a building downtown. This was a good teacher. I enjoyed this class. One of the many apartments I've lived in the few years that I've lived in Sacramento. I think I've been in 6 apartments in the last 5 years. Trying to keep the rent down. This is a really large image. I don't know if you see my feet. I'm standing on it. It's on the floor. So that's how big that is. More apartments where I used to live. Here, this was a story that I created with a group of people in a class, and these are some of the characters that I proposed. So 2014, I was in the Art Institute of Sacramento, and then in 2015, I was in between the Art Institute in Sacramento and ARC, so I did a lot of work at home. This is an image where I changed the front. The temples that you see here, this is a Mormon temple.